And then life dealt us yet another change of events.
Like so many others, a couple in Boulder County is starting over after they lost everything in the Marshall Fire.
Breaking news involving Broncos ownership. John Elway says he wants to be a part of it. Plus, our Broncos insider will join us coming up at 4:30 as the search for the next head coach ramps up this week.
On this Martin Luther King Jr. Day, we have a look at the events nationwide to honor the life and legacy of Dr. King, as well as the push on Capitol Hill to pass voting rights legislation. 4 o'clock on 9 News starts now.
It is now weeks after the Marshall Fire, but we continue to hear the stories of people who lost everything. One couple from Superior lost not just their home, they also lost their livelihood.
9 News reporter Angeline McCall spoke with them, and she joins us live from Superior. And Angeline, they have a lot to figure out when it comes to their future.
Yeah, they're really looking at all of the options. They lived here in the Sagamore neighborhood. It's where their home was, as well as their business. It was a home-based business, so they lost absolutely everything. Right now, they're trying to figure out, do they stay in Colorado? Do they go out of state? But what they do know is that they really want to dream big about the future.
But literally, this is it, right?
Their entire life
It's all hastily stacked in here.
fits in their cars.
Between what I can hold in the Jeep and what she can hold in the van, that's it.
Jim Sullivan and Katie Moore had planned to drive to Florida today.
I know it does sound crazy because everybody has plans, but, well, we're in a very fortunate spot that we don't have any plans.
Their plans continue to change by the hour, just like so many families who lost homes in the Sagamore neighborhood. But on top of that, their source of income and entire inventory.
About $150,000 of cost. A lot. Too much.
Together, they ran Philosophy, a handmade festival clothing and jewelry company.
All that work and all that effort and all that time. I can't believe that this is all I have to show for it.
Losing so much means choosing your old path or starting a new one.
We describe ourselves as I'm the guy holding the string and she's the balloon, right? So having nothing, no job, no income, no place to live, no possessions, it's oddly frightening, but also very liberating at the same time.
They're unsure what's next or even where they'll be.
The thing about this is, like, you really can't do anything except for surrender. You can't, because you have nothing.
They won't force themselves to live a life that's gone.
Having faith and trust that you can, like, if you jump in the direction of the way that the thing that is in your heart, the door's open. The door's open.
One thing they know is this is the start of a new life.
We're optimistic that whatever comes of this is probably going to be better than what we had. We just need to figure out what that is.
In their previous business, they also employed young women who perhaps were maybe on an alternate lifestyle, and they were really trying to mentor them, get them on the right path, show them entrepreneurship and whatnot. So they are really a remarkable couple, and their business was also something that they considered part of their life and part of their heart as well. If you'd like to give to this couple, we do have a link at our website if you feel compelled to.
This fire has been so hard for people to digest, of course, those closest to it and those of us who've watched it from nearby, and you think of the tangible things lost and the intangible loss and the time it takes. It just continues to be a very difficult situation for many people.
Yeah.
Yeah, incredibly difficult, but as we've also seen, you know, so many people have such a positive outlook.
Yeah.
Like, they're taking this as a new opportunity, a new chance, and they are, you know, when I asked them, is this really like closing the chapter, they said it's not so much closing the chapter as it is starting a new book. So it is really amazing to talk to people who have such a positive perspective, but of course it's still difficult no matter what.
It certainly is. Yeah.
Resilience, that's for sure. But starting a business itself isn't enough. So we wish them the best. Thank you, Angeline. Now, some people were alarmed to see some thick black smoke over Denver this morning. That was just before 11. Sky 9 flew over this building under construction at 6th and Santa Fe that caught fire. It really wasn't a big fire. Denver Fire says construction workers were able to get most of it out themselves. One worker did suffer from smoke inhalation and was treated at the hospital.
Taking a live look outside. Springtime in the Rockies continues in January. The stock show weather not here. Instead, this is what it looks like as we start heading for opening day. Chris Bianchi's with us. It's going to stick around for a little while longer.
Absolutely. We've got this warm weather to stick around at least for your day tomorrow. Then, Kim and Tom, we get a big cool down and some snow chances for your Wednesday and your Friday. In the meantime, spring-like weather. No doubt about that for your day today. High of 61 for us here in Denver. Our average high for today, just 44 degrees. So we were cooking 17 degrees above the norm. In the mountains, as usual, some of those colder valleys, much chillier. Just 9 for us in Kremling, but the Eastern Plains, 50s and 60s, generally speaking, for those high temperatures for your day today. Now, tonight we drop back into the single digits and teens in the mountains, 20s, generally speaking, for us along the Eastern Plains. As we head into your day tomorrow, one more warm day, as I mentioned, but clouds increase, and so do the winds as the day wears on. Won't be all that windy, but you'll notice it a little bit, at least those winds getting on up into the 20-25 mile an hour range. And again, as we head through the afternoon, we'll notice those winds kick on up. High temperature in the mid-50s and a fairly mild day at that. Now, our next cold front swings its way on through tomorrow afternoon. And with that, that'll bring that chance for some light snow as we get into your Wednesday and to your Thursday. Not all that dramatic, but a little bit of snow for us on your Wednesday. A more significant chance coming up for your Friday. I'll have more details on that in my full forecast.
Thank you, Chris. King Soopers and the labor union that represents employees are negotiating once again. Last week, thousands of King Soopers workers walked off the job and went on strike over what the union called unfair labor practices. The strike is making it harder to shop, but there are also plenty of other complications. 9 News reporter Jaleesa Rosari takes us inside 2 competing stores.
A near-empty King Soopers parking lot is a welcoming sign for those on the picket line. But for many of these workers, no view is better than watching shoppers go to the competitor across the street. It's these kinds of images many see before they make a decision to cross the picket line or not. And it's these images they see if they decide to go inside. Produce aisles inside this King Sooper don't look as abundant as their competitors, but stockers were seen refilling product. The deli is closed, so is the bakery, and what's left of the meat department is bare.
Everything was always there exactly when they needed it, and now they're not experiencing that.
Jack Buffington is the director of supply chain management at DU. He knows a strike certainly has its impact on product availability, but so does the massive crisis the supply chain is in right now.
I wouldn't call it a major problem. I think there are some products that are not in certain supermarkets, they're in other ones. They may be there the next day.
Across the street at Safeway, that holds true. While the produce department seemed to thrive, there was hardly any milk available, and certain frozen products were scarce. That's compared to the King Soopers across the street that had a decent supply of both.
When the labor market is not very stable, it impacts the supply. When the supply is not very stable, it impacts labor, which is adding to the volatility.
Unpredictability is something Buffington says we may see for a while. Strike or not, it may take some time before stores look like they used to.
We'll still get everything we need, but the expectations won't be as high as they used to be.
Jaleesa Rosari, 9 News.
Over the weekend, the union said they would continue to raise their voices throughout the bargaining process. In a news release, King Soopers officials said they were disappointed. The process is moving slowly, but pleased about the progress that was being made.
Well, today we're hearing from John Elway on the possibility of him having a role in the future of Broncos ownership. And our Broncos insider broke the news that Elway does want to be involved. He told our Mike Kliss that he's hoping for a background or an advisory role with the possible new owner. John Elway saying, quote, "I'm not looking to be the face of the franchise. Whoever puts up that kind of money and whoever is the owner, it's his franchise, it's his team. My hope would be to help support the new owner." We'll get a chance to talk more with Mike Kliss about the Broncos' search for a new head coach when he joins us coming up at 4:30.
All I'm asking and all that we have to do is just vote.
Moments at today's parade in Denver honoring the life and legacy of Martin Luther King Jr. The event went virtual last year because of COVID-19, so this was really the first marching of the parade amid a pandemic. Even so, many people gathered in City Park and marched up Colfax, ending at Civic Center Park. Just one of so many MLK celebrations across the country. We'll have more on the parade coming up in the next half hour. And on this Martin Luther King Day, members of King's family and other activists are renewing their calls for Congress to pass new protections for voting rights.
Yeah, Democrats are planning to vote on 2 voting rights bills this week, but unless something changes, those bills could be destined to fail. Here's NBC's Chris Pallone.
As Washington and the nation pause to commemorate the life and legacy of Martin Luther King Jr., President Biden drew parallels between King's fight for voting rights decades ago
I have a dream
and the battle now playing out on Capitol Hill.
Dr. King wasn't just a dreamer of that promise, he was a doer. And on this federal holiday that honors him, it's not just enough to praise him. We must commit to his unfinished work.
To Democrats, that unfinished work is passing voting rights bills now in the Senate.
Don't tell us what you believe in. Show us with your votes. History will be watching.
A federal attempt to counter dozens of state laws passed after the 2020 election, which they contend discriminate against minority voters and limit access to the ballot.
Will we stand against voter suppression? Yes or no? Will we stand against election subversion? Yes or no? I know where I stand.
Republicans stand unified in opposition.
The founders didn't have that vision in mind. They didn't want an autocrat to be able to pull a lever in one place and change all the election laws.
Senate Democrats hope to make a rules change to pass the bills with just a simple majority. But 2 Democrats, Arizona's Kyrsten Sinema and West Virginia's Joe Manchin, say they want to preserve the filibuster, frustrating fellow party members.
We do not allow the filibuster to hold up the budget. So why should the filibuster hold up people's constitutional rights like voting?
Senate debate on the 2 voting rights bills will begin tomorrow. Chris Pallone, NBC News, Washington.
Well, if these 2 voting rights bills do fail, the next move in Congress might be to discuss changes to the Electoral Count Act of 1887. That outlines how Congress does count electoral votes. There does appear to be some bipartisan desire to modernize those rules following the last national election.